Welcome to the introductory video on the BAII Plus financial calculator presented by BAII Canada. In this video, we're going to talk about the basic functions of the financial calculator. This is going to be a lengthier video. I'm going to go pretty slow. So if you're very quickly trying to find out, how do I do this, how do I do that, it's going to be a while before we get to it in this video. You got to go find another video. What we're doing here is we're trying to talk to those who have just gotten a BAII Plus financial calculator. You cut it open, you have a nice shiny calculator, and you have no idea how it works. I've been there. That's okay. You'll get familiar with it. You'll become an expert in no time. Before we begin, you're going to realize that my calculator is a little bit older, and that's because I've had it for a long time. There's a number of different versions of the calculator. We'll put them on the screen now, where the physical look of it is a little bit different, but the reality of it is that the functionality is pretty much the same over the years. So very importantly, we're going to turn it on. There's an on-off button. That's the easy part. It's right here on the top right. And you'll notice I have 6 decimal places in total. Well, you don't need 6 decimal places. The standard for BAII Canada for all of our examinations, as well as, let's say, the CFA Institute, is to have 4 decimal places. So the first thing we do is we want to format the number of decimal places. If you look at the very bottom, you'll see the period button there. On the top of it in yellow, it says Format. But it's in yellow, so that's the second button. It's the one on top. You hit the second button here, second, so second, and period, which is the format button. You'll see it's set to having 6 decimal places. You probably have 2 if your calculator is very new. So we're going to hit 4, and we're going to tell the calculator we're setting it. We're doing that by hitting enter, enter. So we've now set it to 4 decimal places. We're going to clear it now on the bottom left, clear that, and there we go. We have 4 decimal places. Now, as we move through this video, we're going to go through each one of these buttons here on top. There are 5 of them: N, I/Y, PV, PMT, and FV, future value. If at any point in time you're not 100% comfortable with what I've done, it's a YouTube video. You can just pause it, back it up, and re-listen to it. That's the whole point of this, is we're going to do everything once. But like anything else, you're going to want to repeat it multiple times to increase your level of comfort and ensure that as you learn it, you've really embedded that knowledge and you own it. So it's not like you come back in 6 months and you completely forget. You want to get this inside and out and be very, very comfortable with this. Now, before we get to these 5 buttons, which we're going to talk about in a moment, we have to understand that typically when we work with our calculator, we understand annual compounding. If I invest for 5 years, there's an annual rate of return for 5 years. So it's 1 compounding period per year. However, with, let's say, mortgages, here in Canada, the mortgages are compounded every 6 months, so twice a year. Just like bonds or debentures or even strip bonds are compounded twice a year. So what happens is that if we wanted to say, hey, it's for, let's say, for 5 years, but there's actually 10 periods in there because we're doing it twice a year, we have to tell the calculator that. This is a financial calculator. It's not a smart calculator. So we have to tell it everything. So what we're going to do is if we look at the I/Y button, right above it there, you have P/Y. This is the number of periods per year. So we hit second, and the I/Y, which is really the P/Y. You'll notice that it's set to 1 compounding period per year. If I had monthly compounding, I could go 12 and enter that. And then I'd clear the calculator. So now if I input N is equal to 12, that's 1 year. Because it's understood, we've programmed the calculator that there are 12 compounding periods. So every 12 is equal to 1 year. If this is not what I want to reset it back to the 1 compounding period per year. We'll just do it again. Second, I/Y, which is the P/Y, we're back at 12. For our example, we want to compound once a year. We hit 1, we enter that, and now we've entered it. It's done. It's in there. We've hit the enter button. Okay? So next up, we want to talk about the 5 buttons, which are N, I/Y, PV, PMT, and future value. First off, you have the N. You have the N, which is the number of compounding periods, or years in this case. And in our example, we're going to set N to 10 years. After that, you have the I/Y, which is the interest rate. We're going to set that to 5% in this example. You have the PV, which is the present value. In our example, we're going to set that to $100,000. You have the PMT, which is the payments. So what happens is this. You start off with so much money. You're going to end with the future value, which is, again, so much money. The money's going to be invested, or you're going to pay it off over a period of 10 years, and there's a rate of return. Throughout that period of time, if you're trying to accumulate money, you have to ask, am I making additional deposits, additional payments into the account? If so, that is money that is out of my pocket. It's expressed as a negative because it is money out of my pocket, versus if it's money I am receiving, because let's say I put money into an interest-bearing account, it's money in my pocket. So it's a positive, in my pocket. So if we had great graphic designers, we'd probably put like a little stick figure saying, hey, I'm making loan payments. That's money coming out of my pocket. It's a negative. Or I'm saving more money. It's money out of my pocket. It's a negative. But if I'm receiving money from an investment, it's a positive. It's money into my pocket. So what happens is this. In our example, we're going to use payments of 0. And what we want to do is figure out the future value. We want to ask ourselves, okay, given these variables, where we have 10 years, so 10, and it's the N. We hit N. We're telling it the N is 10 years. We've done that. When you have the N equals, it's in the calculator. So over 10 years, at a 5% rate of interest, so it's in the calculator, it's in there. We are starting with $100,000. We're going to save that. That's money out of our pocket into the bank account. It's a negative. Present value. We're not making any additions, so there's no PMTs. And now we want to figure out the future value. So we have to tell the calculator, hey, I want the future value now. You have to compute that for me. You have to do the work. So when we hit the CPT button on the top left, that is us telling the calculator, you do the work now, compute future value. So the answer is $162,889. We're going to clear the calculator, and just for the fun of it, we're going to enter and do this again and do some more keystrokes. So again, you can always go back and re-listen to this. The first thing is this. We know what the future value is. We want to confirm that the PMTs are actually going to be equal to 0. So let's start back at the top. We have 10 N's. We have 5 I/Y's, $100,000 negative PV. We know that it's $162,889 positive is the future value. And now we want to confirm that the payments are zero. CPT, PMT, well, that's a rounding error of 3 cents because I rounded off. So the payments are effectively zero. So here's the thing. What we're going to do here, I'm just going to move this, I'm going to switch that right around like this, and we're going to go over a few different examples. Actually, why not let's start off with a new piece of paper here. So let's not forget we had N's, I/Y's, PV, PMT, and future value. Got it all right there. Now, in example number 1, and we're going to do 5 of them, I want to know if I save $100 every single year for a period of 10 years, and I get a 6% rate of return. I start with nothing. What is the future value? Then I want to know if I start off owing, I decided to buy a boat, so I owe $20,000. And I'm going to pay it off in annual installments over 20 years. They're charging me an 8% rate of interest. I know my ending balance is zero. I want to know my PMT. So we're going to start with those two, then we're going to keep going. And again, you can pause this and do this with me. So in the first example, we're looking for the present value. We're looking for the future value. We start with 0 as the present value. So we're putting over 10 years, so 10 N, we're getting a 6% rate of return, so 6I/Y. We're starting with 0 PV, and we're putting $100 in every single year. It's money out of our pocket. It's a negative PMT. So now we're looking for compute future value. At the end of the 10-year period, we will have $1,318. We have just solved for the future value. Again, if I did that too fast, I'll do this one a second time, or just kind of re-explain it. We said over a period of 10 years, 10 is N, we had a 6% rate of return. We started with nothing, so 0 present value. We put in $100 a year out of our pocket. That's the payment. We compute future value. Okay, next up, we know the future value. It's 0. We also know the N, the I/Y, the PV. We don't know the PMT. What ends up happening is this. We have one unknown variable in the first line. We're solving for FV. Second line, we have one unknown variable. We're solving for PMT. This is not something that we can use if we're going to be changing the variables or if we have 2 unknown variables. You must have at least 4 of the 5 to solve for the 5th. If your rate of return is not averaged out at 8% over the 20 years, or the rate of interest is not averaged out to 8% over 20 years, you cannot do one calculation. If you're being charged 8%, or let's say you're being charged 7% for a period of 10 years, then 9% for a period of 10 years, well, you have to do 2 calculations. We have to have one specific rate of return for the whole period of time. In this example, I know it averages out to 8%, that's fine, but you have to use one rate of return. There has to be one N, one PV, one PMT, one future value. So if you put in $100 a year for 3 years and then $200 a year for 2 more years, you have to do 2 separate calculations. So Remember, we bought a boat here. We're making annual repayments for it, so it's over a 20-year period. So we're going to start off with 20 is N, 8% I/Y, that's the rate that we're being charged. We started with owing $20,000, so that's a negative. That's the PV. We know it's zero future value. We want to know what our payment is every single year. So we want to compute the PMT. So we have to pay back $2,037.04 every single year. We do that for 20 years. We pay off our $20,000. So you can tell that the cost of owning a boat is quite high. Okay. Next up, we're going to solve for the present value. So we have the option of getting a $1 million payout in 10 years. And we want to know, assuming we can grow that at a rate of return. I'm a good investor. I've won some money. I'm going to get it in 10 years. Or I want to know what it has to be today, assuming that I can grow it at 10%. So I'm going to compare this here. Do I want to get $1 million today? Or let's say they tell me we can give you $800,000. And I have no idea. Should I take the $800,000 today? I just wrote $800,000 over here. So should I take the $800,000 today? Or should I take the $1 million in 10 years? So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to present value back that $1 million by 10 years at 10%, and I'm going to figure out what that present value is. And I'm going to figure out, should I get the $1 million in 10 years, or should I take $800,000 today? These are the options. So let's go ahead and do that. So we have 10 is equal to N. That's how many years it is. I know I can get a rate of return of 10%. That's the rate of interest I can get. We're searching for the present value. There are 0 PMTs, no payments, and it's $1 million. That is the future value. I now want to calculate the present value. CPT present value. So that is $385,543. So if I receive $385,543 today, and I grow it for 10 years at a rate of return of 10%, assuming that there's no additional deposits or withdrawals, it'll be worth $1 million in 10 years. So if I have a choice of $1 million in 10 years or $800,000 today, well, I'm going to take the $800,000 today. Again, you can always back up and go ahead and re-listen to it. Next up, we have a 5-year period. We don't know what rate of interest we need to earn to double our money over the next 5 years. So what ends up happening, we have a present value of, let's say, $1,000. We have no payments, and we want to double it over 5 years. So we're going to put down $2,000. Now, here's the thing. I could put down $1 and $2. I could put down 10 million or 20 million. The reason I'm choosing 1,000 and 2,000 is to make sure that we have enough decimals that it kind of makes sense, given that we kind of go with millions of dollars here and there. 1,000 is enough, it makes sense. So, clear the calculator. For a period of 5 years, we're looking for the I/Y to find out our $1,000 negative. It's money out of our pocket. We're saving it. That's the present value. 0 payments. No money is in or out in the next 5 years. 2,000 is the future value. So we start with 1,000. We end with 2,000. How long is it going to take for our money to double? Or, I'm sorry, what rate of return do we need to obtain for our money to double in the next 5 years? Compute I/Y. So if we get 14.87% as a rate of return, it's right here on the calculator, 14.87% each year for the next 5 years, our $1,000 will grow to $2,000. Let's say we didn't get that. We got a 12% rate of return. Again, we started with 1,000. There are no payments. We end with 2,000. The question is, how many years will it take our money to double, assuming a 12% rate of return? I can already tell you that n will be greater than 5. If we wanted to double our money in 5 years, we needed 14.87%. The rate of return has gone down. We obviously need longer to double the money. So again, we take out our calculators. We're looking for n. We're starting with 12% I/Y, $1,000 negative that we're saving today as the present value. There are 0 PMTs, and the future value is $2,000. So we've entered the information. We now want to compute for n. CPT n. We need 6.12 years, and I'm rounding it up. And that assumes a 12% rate of return, 6.12 years to double our money. If you look at what we've done here, we solved for the future value, we solved for the PMT, we solved for the present value, we solved for the I/Y, and of course now we've solved for the n. We've solved for one of each. None of this is extremely difficult. It's very important to understand this is just about getting you to practice with the calculator, make the keystrokes along with me. The hope is you graduate from this video, meaning to go over these 5 calculations, it doesn't take 20 minutes or so, but you're able to kind of go in and do each one within a minute, maybe 2 minutes. The very last thing I wanted to talk to you about is this calculator assumes end-of-year payments. If you'll notice, it has the decimals on the screen, it has nothing else. If, for whatever reason, the payments were being made, either we make the payments or we receive them at the beginning of the year, what ends up happening is we have to tell the calculator, hey, the default setting has to be changed. It's not end of year, which is the default setting. So if you see here above PMT, it says BGN. That means beginning of year payments. Second, BGN. Second, set. Now it's at beginning. I clear the calculator. If you look above the decimals, it says BGN. What we've done is we've changed it away from its default setting to make it beginning of year payments. When we do this, we will obtain a different number on many of our calculations. When you take a test, they're very good at testing, let's say, an annuity calculation with beginning of year payments on like question 3 or 5 or something like that. And so if you don't go back to reset the calculator, it will remain at beginning of year payments. Just for the fun of it, we clear it, it doesn't go away. We turn it off, we turn it on, it has been retained inside the calculator. It still says BGN. We have to go back and change it to the default setting. Second, PMT to get to the BGN, and we go second, set. It changes it. We clear the calculator, the BGN has disappeared. On that, I want to thank you for taking the time to listen to me and work through these calculations with me. If you Google this or you go onto YouTube and you look for more videos, you'll realize there are many videos with many examples. Many people are able to do this, and they probably do it even better than me. And that's because it's something that is attainable. So if you are discouraged, please don't be. You just need to get in more reps. You need to try it a little bit more, and you need to stick with it. On that, I want to thank you for listening to this video and wish you all the best.